Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Deuce's Wild, another edition of the pod. It's your boy Tristan, my boy Al.
What up? What up?
How you feeling today, man?
I'm good.
And we was getting into something. You want to jump into it right away?
Yeah. Obviously, given the news that happened with the Rittenhouse verdict, there's conversations happening. And that kind of led us down a path of conversations about double standards and different things.
Yeah.
And you were saying that the culture is shifting.
Yeah.
Androgyny is sort of becoming like a norm. It's part of a media push. And I was stating before we got started that while I think there are pockets of society that are going that way.
Yeah.
I think one thing that happens with the media, especially with social media, is that it paints a false reality of what the world's really like.
Right.
So I think, you may have a few cities, a few different subcultures where, we're all androgynous, we're all doing what I want. That's fine. But to say that's the narrative like everyone's going towards, I ain't buying it.
Everyone going towards, everybody's caping up for it, for sure. Like, it's not real, it's perceived, but they're still there. Like, if you say something anti or against it or counterculture, I guess is what it is now, then they get chesty about it. They start going after you. And even though nobody really gets canceled, it's still annoying. It's still annoying from my standpoint. Just because, what the fuck? Like, I just feel like it help me out here. I'm at a loss for words. I feel like it's a little frustrating from the standpoint that I think the cancel culture is just going too far. Like with the Dave Chappelle thing, we can go back to that. Keep going back to that. His point of the special was that gender is indeed a fact, and everybody who is on this planet came through a woman's vagina.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But he's being ridiculed for that. That doesn't make sense. Make it make sense.
So I've had, I won't say a few conversations. I watched a few different perspectives when I read a few articles. Like, because I agree with you in terms of after watching it, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it because everyone's beating it to death. I don't see how you could watch it, the entire special, and not really understand what the point he's trying to make, even if you don't agree with it. But it really boils down to they're equating his words are emboldening people who want to inflict violence upon transgenders.
That's so
gays,
bullshit,
women.
bro. Like, people are gonna inflict violence on you
agree.
Regardless of what Dave Chappelle comes out and says. Some people are inherently violent, and you're never gonna get rid of those people. And you're always gonna be going on a witch hunt trying to get rid of people who are saying things that you don't agree with because it inflicts violence against me. But no, it's
words in themselves. I think saying words are violent.
Nobody promotes rape. Nobody promotes rape in media. A lot of people still get raped. Rapists just exist. Rape is just part of part of society. There's men out here. There's mostly men, but I'll get into that later. But it's mostly men using their dicks as weapons. They use them as batons. The penis is seen as a weapon. Is usually why it's.
I've never thought about.
That's why that double standard kind of exists. A woman can urinate on a fan on stage, but if a dude pulled out his dick and urinated on a fan, R. Kelly, it's a fucking problem.
Well, it's
a problem either way. It's creep shit. It's a creepy ass woman. She's a creepy ass female.
She said she had to piss
on the in the fan's mouth. Like, somebody has to step in. But no. If it was a man doing it, it would have been outrage. It would have been outrage from the standpoint of let's cancel, quote unquote, cancel this person and get them up out of here.
So so I'm saying, so let's flip the scenario. Instead of it being Sophia Urista, the rocker,
let's just say it's R. Kelly.
Well, that's a bad example. Given
why? He did it, and people had a problem with it, especially when it got to white media.
In context, R. Kelly it was also underage girls involved. That
I don't know how old that fan was.
He was 36.
Damn,
36
fam.
What's
wrong with you? At 36, you should have better sense than to let somebody urinate on you.
Listen,
he was thirsty.
Two consenting
for urine, Al. Who wants pee?
Sterile.
Pee's not lemonade.
It might be to him.
Warm.
What I'm saying is,
You couldn't even put it on ice first?
Would I go to a concert and be like, hey, pee on my face? No.
No.
But if he's into that.
No, there's no he's into that. That's wrong, period. That's her performer using her power to do what the fuck she wants to do.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not arguing you're wrong. She did apologize for it. She did apologize.
It would be no apologies if it was a man, bro. It would be money lost first.
You're not wrong.
The baby.
You're wrong.
Money lost first. And then once you've suffered enough, you can come back and maybe we'll fuck with you.
So the baby's thing was.
The baby's still doing it. Why are you recording this thing with your baby moms, bro? Why are you doing that? And then calling her a side chick. He's a kid. He's in his early 20s, I think. No.
Hear me
It's stupidity.
Hear me. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm saying one thing that I think
clout chasing, but go ahead.
People tend to forget, especially when you're out of that phase of your life, is that between the ages of like, I'd say late teens to like mid 20s, you're a fucking idiot.
You're pretty fucking dumb.
You don't know
I didn't do it, though. You didn't do it.
No, we didn't. But
our boys didn't do it.
Think about it. We might have said some wild shit in the argument with our girl. Maybe. At that time.
Oh, man, yeah.
And this wasn't a camera because you weren't a famous person and you didn't have the level of access and technology to just be like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show you who I am. I'm going to say this dumbass shit and put it online. I've already got the other stuff I'm dealing with in terms of bad PR. Help me.
I don't understand of snitching on yourself. Why are people so just want to? The clout chasing's got to stop. I'm tired of it. My girl is always showing me some live of somebody clout chasing, bro. And it's always some dumb shit like, if you a millionaire or
Define clout chasing for us who are washed.
Bro, everybody knows what the fuck.
I'm washed.
It's recording everyday things, trying to get attention.
There you go. Okay.
Everyday things, just trying. I ain't got to go no further than that. Just you record everyday things to try to get attention. Like, you really sit your ass down somewhere. Like, just live your life. We don't have to see it. I do not give a fuck, but I know a lot of people do. And I kind of look down on those people, honestly. Because why do you care so much about somebody else? Why do you not have enough going on in your life that you are not fulfilled, whether it be entertainment-wise or just happiness, that you got to go peering into somebody else's shit and looking for the drama? Like, I get it. Like, drama is fascinating, and I like to laugh. I like to be entertained from a comical standpoint. Like, I watch TikToks and, Instagram lives or whatever. I like to be entertained from a comical standpoint. But when you when you're peering into drama just to have an opinion on it, bro, live your life, bro. Get out of that shit.
I got 2 thoughts about that. I think first, 3 thoughts. The first is social media has constructed a world in which people give that fear of FOMO. Like, everyone's talking about something. Let me go also be part of the conversation. I
love listening now.
If it's trending and I'm interested, I'll look into it. If I'm not, I'm not. It's whatever. I think the second thing, especially when you're talking about people who are celebrities, I think it kind of humanizes them in their mind. Like, if you're flawed, I think that's why people took such the Will Smith, Jada Pinkett stuff.
That's so embarrassing.
But people were really into it because it's like, oh, we thought they were perfect for so long. They have the money, they're good looking, they have all this success.
Will Smith looks like a wet seal. How is that perfect? Look,
because Will Smith was like, what? He's a few $100 million in, and he's probably one of the world's most famous people. And he has tons of
He's done work. He's done work. I mean, you need to put things in perspective. Like, nobody's perfect, and stop idolizing and making false idols out of these people.
But
they're just human beings.
The media partly like the media image of a person.
The media is doing its job.
So think about if I'm a young cat, I find our show, I'm listening, I like what Tristan's saying. I really like what the old head's saying. And I start
old head.
Just somebody. No, when I was mentoring teenagers, I remember this was a few years back. The kid was maybe 15. We were talking about music. I'm like, oh, okay, what are you into? He's like, you wouldn't know what it is. I'm like, well, try me. He's like, you're old. You wouldn't know. I'm like, oh, but much respect, I'm over twice his age.
Fuck him. He doesn't know what old is.
To a 15-year-old, 30.
No perspective. No perspective. Why does he matter? Like, why does that opinion matter? The opinion of a 15-year-old's opinion of what's old does not matter.
But what I said that to say, so from someone's perspective, they would look at you you've lived, you got experience, you've got all these things, and maybe I aspire to be one day. So But let's say all they following like your social media. I know you're not that active, but let's say you start getting more active because you're gonna be out there again. And all they see is like, oh man, he's doing all this cool stuff. He's always hanging out. His girl looks a certain way.
She does.
He's got all this other stuff. So he's only gonna see your highlights. He's not gonna see all the.
But you should assume. You should assume it's there.
You can't though.
You should.
You have no frame of reference.
Exactly. Perspective is low. And
perspective to follow people.
It should not be respected. It should not be respected by somebody with more perspective. So when you hear a young person who's 15 tell you that they're old, you should tell them, fuck you.
Nah.
You should ignore it.
I laughed.
You laughed it off, right?
This was funny. But I would think at 15, I thought someone who was 30 was old too.
I thought that somebody who was nearing 40, which...
I thought they were like a mummy. You were probably a skeleton at that point.
You know what? Maybe. But again, my perspective didn't matter.
It's not about it mattering, but I'm saying like from their perspective, I'm saying all that to say like when you're looking up to somebody in a way and all you see is the highlight reels, that becomes what you know of them. So finally, after years of seeing this person who seems larger to life to you, in the case of like Will Smith, to a lesser extent the people who are really big fans of the baby, you know, because he's been steadily getting more and more popular. Yeah. And then you see like the other side of them, it's like, oh wait, they got things about them too that aren't great.
But those aren't even normal. Those are highly dysfunctional things. Those aren't even things those are not even normal flaws. Like what I would call, from my perspective, a normal flaw.
Even
like
better.
A normal flaw is like, I leave the toilet seat, or I don't flush after I leave the bathroom, I don't wash my hands. Those are normal flaws. Not, I treat women like shit, and I think that every homosexual person is the F word, or
20, whatever he is.
They all have HIV. Like
he's young. He's a young guy with a limited
He's an idiot
right now. So yeah, he's gonna learn.
He's an idiot.
So that's one of those. I understand I'm not part of those communities. If I had HIV, if I was gay, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Not even. Why don't you shrug this shit up?
Dick in the parking lot if I want to suck dick like that. Okay, that's offensive. I did that before I got here. I understand that's not my perspective. I was like, to me, it sounded like a very incoherent rant. I was like, all right, that's weird.
It's just another concert rant, and people just jumped on it, as though he had some press conference and said these things while banging on the table. Like he was in the moment. He was around. His fan, he thinks that his fans think his way, and he doesn't understand that. When you look out in the audience, you see a lot of people that don't look like you, that are not from where you're from. I don't understand why you felt so comfortable to say those things. But regardless, a lot of shit that these entertainers who are under a certain age, who have been coddled for a long time, you gotta ignore some of that shit. Like the Lil Wayne shit, when he says the things that he says, I kind of understand it from the standpoint, you've been rich since you were a child. Yeah. You don't have the black experience. You don't have the full black experience. You're like what a lot of people criticized Obama. Like, you're not a real black person. You haven't had the full black experience. Lil Wayne is the same to me.
Wait a minute. Okay. Now I'm curious.
People said that. I wouldn't necessarily.
No, I'm curious. Like, when you say the full black experience, from their perspective, what do you think that means?
It means being poor, or
is that a black thing?
Not exclusively.
Because I guess to me, like, when I hear that, it kind of bothers me because it's this normalization of dysfunction. Like,
right, yeah.
Like, you black people don't have two parents. Black people don't have, like, stable environments. Black people
by proportion, more of our people. While we're
dysfunction.
We're a mosaic and a rainbow like any other race or culture, but more of our people are poor than white people.
But why are we normalizing? Not to say, okay, and then I would say, what defines poor? Like, poor in terms of, I don't have clothes on my back, roof over my head, and an education, and I'm eating, or poor in the
wide ranges.
I don't have certain luxuries. Those are two different things to me.
No, luxuries is not having luxuries is not poor. Not knowing where your next meal is coming from. Like, I didn't grow up poor. I wouldn't say that I'm a poor black person, but I do know a lot of people growing up who didn't have shoes to come to school with. Like, he had to borrow his big brother's shoes or whatever. Like, that's poor. When you had to borrow your big brother's shoes to come to school, or your shoes are holy and you can't do shit about it, but you still come to school anyway and get talked about and get trashed at school for it, that's poor. You don't necessarily, you're eating peanut butter and bread for dinner, that's poor.
I've been there.
I mean,
lower income, but my thing is
lower income. I'm sorry, it's not. I didn't say you were
lower income though and poverty are two different things, though. I understand what you're saying, but I more so.
I didn't. Well,
I guess I'm challenging the notion like that being like.
Well, lower income than Al. That's one of the black experiences, and Obama hasn't seen a lot of that either.
But what does that have to do with him being black? Like,
a lot of people would say a criticism is you haven't lived a black experience because you haven't been profiled by the police when you don't know if black Obama has or hasn't. But because they say because his light skin color, he hasn't been. Yeah, it's a lot of ignorance baked in there. But there's still, I mean, that's still a criticism, and it's not like you haven't heard it.
It never made sense. Like
doesn't matter whether it makes sense to you or not.
Even in sense of because I've lived in those experiences where like I would be considered at least a point in my life like lower income, not poverty line, but lower income. Not having to borrow food to that kind of jazz. Mm-hmm. Living like place to place. I've been in those scenarios, and even then, like it wasn't. I didn't go like, oh, this is what everybody goes through. It's just like, all right, this is a time period. This isn't necessarily fun, but it is what it is. I didn't then equate this experience to what every black person does. And it always was weird to me that when people would say, every time there was like the black experience, it was like usually something like negative or dysfunctional. Like, oh yeah, niggas be going to jail, niggas like no, yes, there are things that happen proportionally in greater numbers in the black community, but stop making it like that's the norm. Like, it bothers me because to me,
a lot of first of all, the norm is relative. When you say normal, an idea of what normal is different from person to person. And from what I'm hearing from you is, I don't want this to define a people. Or when for a lot of people who are African American, that coming from low income does define them.
It doesn't.
For them, it does.
But the thing is...
For them, it does. It doesn't matter what you think.
It clearly does what I think, because the problem is you're letting your perceptions set these limitations upon yourself.
Their perception is their reality.
No, reality is your reality.
What they've accepted to be their reality is their reality.
If you're telling yourself,
your opinion of that doesn't matter, bro.
If you are telling yourself, I'm talking to you, I'm talking to any other not calling you a dumb nigga who thinks just because I was poor, just because X, Y, and Z, that means that's what the black experience is, then you don't know your history. You really don't. You really do not know your history at all. You need to read a fucking book. You need to learn.
What history are you speaking of?
The black experience. It's a lot more than just economic, especially in this country.
Okay.
And to say that the black experience is a poor experience built on dysfunction, that means you don't even know how it was pre the civil rights era.
Okay.
You literally don't know.
Hanging from a tree, that's functional for you.
So that's what are you trying to? You mean that's the American experience? I'm not understanding what you're saying.
The American experience.
Yeah, like because wait, are you arguing with me that the black experience is a dysfunction?
Where do white and black come from? Did it come from any other country than America?
Let's reset, because I think we're talking about two different things. Are you?
So that's an American experience. Every American has hung from a tree or had ancestors that hung from a tree.
Okay, all right. So now you're asking about racial. I'm
talking about black people.
No, you're talking about racial inequality.
Racial inequality.
Right.
We come from racial inequality.
That's not the totality of the black experience. Like
that's a large part of it.
It's a portion of the black experience.
It's a large part of it.
That's a portion of it.
It's a large part of it. Inequality is a large part of the black experience.
So all the strides that people made and innovations they made, that's not part of the black experience? Like
it is.
Those are anomalies?
It's a large part of the black experience too.
So that's what
And I said it's a rainbow. There's a rainbow of a black experience. And for a lot of people who are dealing with low income right now,
you're a clown. That's my response. If that's what you really think, the only thing that the black experience equates to is that you're a clown. Like, I'm going to be real with you.
Okay. Poor people are clowns.
Poor people who think that that's all you are as a poor person, you're a clown.
Didn't say that. Didn't say that. I said that's
exactly
part of the.
You're saying.
I said that's part of the black experience.
You were sitting here arguing with me that.
I said it's part of the black experience.
You didn't.
You said
that is the black experience.
I've said there's a huge mosaic. I've said mosaic like 10 or 15 times in this conversation. I said there's a rainbow and mosaic of what the black experience is. And for a lot of people, being in low poverty is a huge part of it. Inequality is a huge part of it. What happened to Kyle Rittenhouse is a huge part of it. That's inequality.
He didn't do anything with black people.
No, he didn't. But he did something that if a black person did it, he'd be hung.
Well, I'm saying
you had a lot of other words besides before. Now you just says
Well, no, because I think you're kind of moving around a bunch of different points.
Inequality is a lot. It's a huge thing.
Simple. My statement. I'm going to make a simple, very statement that then I'm going to be done with this part of the conversation because it's kind of going in a circle. If you think the black experience is synonymous with dysfunction, then you need to take a different perspective of your life.
There's a lot of dysfunction in the black experience. There's a lot of dysfunction in everybody's culture.
Then it can't by that alone. It can't be the black experience. Dysfunction by itself means it's not normal. So stop making dysfunction normal.
But regardless of how you feel,
it's the facts. It's the facts, not my feeling.
Regardless of how you feel, a lot of people have that opinion. And
it's not a fact.
I'm not speaking towards or against this thing. I'm saying that people have this opinion, whether you agree with it or not.
An opinion is not a fact. I'm talking facts. I'm not talking about someone's opinion.
Okay.
So that's
I started this off by saying people's perception of Obama, which is an opinion, and now we're talking about facts. When
I said the entire time, I said your perception is not the true reality. I said reality is reality. That's what I said immediately after.
For the human brain, someone's perception is their reality at that moment.
Okay, that's not
okay. So you don't think that now.
So you say what you just said again, slower.
For people.
Yep.
Their perception in that moment is their reality. Whether or not some fact exists until their brain is able to see it as a fact and contradict their opinion.
But that doesn't change the truth.
Cut off. And so until somebody's able to see it as a fact and it contradicts their opinion, and for them to learn and grow past that opinion, in that moment it's their reality.
That's not the same thing.
What is not?
Perception is not reality. They can be, but that doesn't mean because I perceive something that's something really happened. No, that's not reality.
That's how people's testimonies in court happen all the time.
What do you know?
It's based on what they perceive.
No, it's based off what can be proven as factually what happened.
But the person's testimony is based off of what they perceived, what they saw.
In case of Cal Rittenhouse, the third man who actually was shot and survived. The perception was, my hands were up, I got shot. What happened when he got cross-examined was that he admitted, I didn't get shot until I pointed the gun at him, but I had no intention of shooting him. So the reality is, from the perspective of the facts of the case, you got shot because you pointed a gun at someone and they shot back in self-defense.
So if someone says...
That's the facts.
If someone says it changes their accounting of the situation...
It's not changing the accounting.
You said he said one thing and then he admitted.
When cross-examined, meaning this is what you said, now let's talk about it and make sure that matches up with what we actually see. When shown video of what actually happened, what happened, he was like, oh yeah, that is what happened. Because it doesn't change perception doesn't change what actually happened.
That's fine, but for his mind, it does.
That you're arguing two different points.
No, I'm not. I'm saying the same thing.
We're not going to agree.
I'm talking about in people's minds and their opinions, and you're giving me what's caught on a videotape, which can be fact. Because
it's the fact.
And it could be different.
It's facts, man.
But
if we're not going to agree on this one, I don't think we're going to agree on this one.
Yeah, facts and opinions are two different things. Anyway, what's next?
I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to let you drive the conversation because I'm not quite sure what the vibe is right now.
What do you mean what the vibe is? You feel threatened?
No, I don't feel like getting to a philosophical debate.
All right, so Zac Stacy.
Who's Zac Stacy?
Zac Stacy is a former running back in the NFL, and he was caught on video throwing his ex-wife into a TV like a rag doll in front of their 5-month-old and beaten up on. This has got to...
His perception was he was mad. That bitch had it coming. The fact is he threw his fucking girl to a TV. That's the fucking fact.
And those are two damn same things. Okay.
Not the same things. His perception is how I wasn't wrong. The facts were he was wrong with what he did. That's the facts. So, yeah.
His perception was that he wasn't wrong?
Mm-hmm.
You know that?
Yeah, I do.
That's
what my mind told me.
Okay. I don't know where you got that from, but okay. Anyway, you kind of fucking up the podcast.
Oh, why am I fucking up the podcast?
You're just throwing grenades out there.
What do you mean?
That's what he thought. I mean, I don't understand. Like, where you coming from with that?
So it sounds like you want to revisit our disagreement.
You just did that.
Okay. All right. So let's just do that right now then. Okay. So I think what's going to work for us, honestly, is that if we have a different opinion, that's cool.
No, I'm not even against you.
No, if we have let's hear me out. If we have a different opinion, that's cool. But if it gets to a point where we clearly aren't really like...
You don't have to take it too serious at this point.
No, okay, clear.
You are launching grenades out there.
I would say, like, just to objectively, you are more emotional than I am. I'm not in a negative way at all. I'm
cool.
Meaning, like, once you kind of, like, get a little irritated or offended, it's clear. So what I don't want to do...
I'm cool. I'm moving on.
What I don't want to do is to put you in a bad headspace where it's like, oh, you're trying to fuck with me. Because right now I'm just talking, I'm fucking with you.
I know you are.
No, it was clear you were like, oh, okay, we're doing this. I'm like, no, I just want to make it clear, we're good.
We're not doing anything.
I'm just from history.
I'm just no. We're fine. We're fine today. We're fine today.
All right, man.
We're fine today.
22 of us.
I'm not gonna go Super Saiyan today. I'm fine today. I'm just saying you went right back to that and. You said something that was kind of foolish. I know you were. I know you were. And you want to keep fucking with me, I can fuck with you too.
That's what I was making clear. Like, oh, I'm like you. Like, it's one of those. I'm joking with you. It's not one of those. Oh, are we doing this? I'm not doing the petty sort of. Yeah, nigga, what's up now? No.
We could be jokefully petty. Like I don't have to come at your neck.
Making it clear, it was just joking.
I know you well enough.
I'm just saying.
I know you well enough.
I saw the vein. I'm like, oh boy, all right, let's.
I have a hat on. You ain't see no veins on my head.
Yeah, bro, you bald.
That hat's covering that part that you pointed to. You gonna have me check my fucking hat.
But no.
Anyway.
No, he was wilding.
He was wilding, but what takes you to that point? Like I don't get.
I don't know how old he is. I think.
I just don't
like from the video you shared with me. I didn't mean to cut you off. It seemed like they were having a disagreement about something. Whatever she said, like really for whatever reason, pissed him off. Like I don't know. He said something about. I guess she made some kind of critique.
Open your laptop back up. You closed that out of spite. I don't like.
No, I closed it because I want to make it clear. Like, no,
I'm fucking with you.
This is clearly going to be edited out.
No, it's not. We're leaving all this in here.
No, I mean like once we get the file itself.
I'm not editing shit.
Well, that just sounds like we're an old married couple.
That's fine.
I'm tired of your shit, Ethel.
People need to understand the human experience. Like people need to understand, like especially when you got homies and loved ones, that you're going to get in an argument with them. And it may sound contentious. And for a lot of people who are a little bit more meek or mild-mannered, it may look like an argument. But it's really just two people who are disagreeing, and you can move on. So anyway,
we've had
I'm not gonna
for a long time.
I'm not gonna throw you into the TV like a rag doll or anything like that.
We're also both men. So if you let another man grab you and throw you like that, I'm like, bro, you might take him to court and win that lawsuit. You supposed to defend yourself, man.
Some people want to win that lawsuit first, so they'll just let it. Like for me, I'll let you get the first hit in just because I want to be able to have probable cause. But
there's no guarantee. Let's say we got into it, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna sue Tristan. There's no guarantee I can live. In a fit of rage, you could kill me. I'm like, nah, you gotta survive that day.
I don't think that in a fit of rage that my 5'5" ass is killing you,
bro.
Unless I just go ham on your genital section.
Because what happens if I'm like, oh, he's not being serious. Hit on my head, you get a concussion. I'm kind of dizzy, and then you just see red. And
it kind of looked like when I was looking at that video, I was like, okay, when are you gonna snap out of it? He never does.
And that's the thing. Like I think when old heads tell like young guys, so they learn either from experience or from understanding. When you are in that mode where you know like anything else is going to set you off, just walk away.
Now I have thoughts on this because again, we can go back to double standards, and I think a big double standard is a man should never hit a woman, but it goes beyond that.
Never?
That's what I'm saying. Yes. Never. That's.
Hold on. Okay. Can I ask you like a qualifying question?
Yes.
What if it's a situation where she can cause him seriously bodily harm if he doesn't defend himself?
That has always been my point, sir. But I've been told. I've been told that you should never hit a woman, no matter what. It's so lazy and stupid. Like people don't have any room, and they don't have any room for nuance. There's no nuance. It's always an extreme. You should never hit a woman. But what if there is no situation in which you should never, ever hit a woman? I've heard that too many times for it to not be something that a lot of people think and feel.
I think Stephen A. Smith made a really good point that he got in trouble for years ago. I don't agree with him about a lot of stuff, but it was back when Ray Rice, the Ray Rice video came out. Mm-hmm. And you saw like clearly there was some tension. It got a little heated, and she like walked towards him, and he struck her. Mm-hmm. He's clearly wrong for that. Mm-hmm. But the point he made, and he got eviscerated for, was, I think he said something along the lines like, if I tell my sisters, the women in my life, like if you find yourself in a situation with a man, you're disagreeing, you're arguing, and you see he's at a point to where like there's no more conversation, and he's, reached that point of no return, it's not worth winning the argument. Just think about safety at that point, because you can't bank on the fact that he's going to go, oh, I don't care how upset I am. I'm never going to do this. You have to bank on the fact
that contradicts his point because I've heard that statement of you should never hit a woman no matter what the circumstance. I was talking about Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, because you know what happened after he said that? People didn't really try to women immediately went, so you're saying that she was wrong? You're giving him, they went in on him. He came the next day, I made the most egregious mistake in my career. I said some foolish things. And the reality was, that's true. It's not about him being right or wrong, but in that moment, you can't bank on the fact, to your point, that he's going to be like, well, I'm never going to do this.
The problem with that is abuse begets abuse. So what happens is, if this 5-month-old child, I think it's a male, is it a son?
Yeah, I think it's a boy.
Let's just say it's a daughter. She grows up thinking that this type of relationship is normal. A lot of times they grow up and they get with a man who's more mild-mannered, but they are not themselves mild-mannered. They believe in or were brought up in a domestic abuse culture, a culture of abusive relationships. So this person can still be verbally abusive. And when you verbally abuse a man for long enough, not saying it's an excuse, but if a man is mentally weak and mild-mannered, he snaps.
Well, I wouldn't even say if he's mentally weak. I think everyone has a threshold.
Everyone has a threshold or a breaking point where emotional abuse can get so much to the point where they become physically threatened. And although that's not real, it's a perception. It's in your mind that this person is attacking me. It's not
all the time. If you and a guy, maybe not if you got in any fist fights, but you have a person have a disagreement, and guys, they can't.
I was in a relationship like that where I'm not somebody who would ever hit a woman for any reason because I'm never threatened by a woman ever. I have never been in a position where I have to be threatened by a woman. But I was with somebody who thought that pushing all of my buttons, because you know what buttons to push when you're in a relationship, and they push all of them, to try to push that out of you. And they become physically confrontational with you because this is what they know to be. And then it creates a dark situation, and to the point where I feel like I love this person to death. You want to be with that person, but now you got to make a decision. And my decision was to get away from this person.
Don't normalize dysfunction. That's dysfunction.
It is dysfunction.
If it gets to a point, it's different if you guys get.
But there are different ideas of dysfunction. I know you feel like there's a very clear idea.
You shouldn't be putting if you have a partner, because same with what you were just sharing with us. If you have a partner where if you guys are disagreeing, she gets to a point where she feels like I can put my hands on you, out of aggression. That's not cool. Granted, you're bigger than her. It's not going to hurt you, X, Y, and Z.
I wasn't even big.
Well, you may not be taller than her, but you were physically just larger than she was.
I'm as wide as I am tall.
That'd be a good advertising. I guess that'd be good advertising.
I'm 5'5". I'm 5 feet. I'm 5 feet wide by the shoulders. I'm not round. I'm 5 feet wide by the shoulders and 5 feet tall. I'm 5 by 5.
The first part you said, what'd you say? You're as tall as you are. How did you phrase it?
I'm as tall as I am wide.
If you on dating apps, that's probably a good opening line.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, I hope it is.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
If I'm talking about a certain appendage,
that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah.
You're leading with the freaks, but no, seriousness though.
Then you would say I'm as long as I am wide. You wouldn't say tall.
I mean,
go ahead.
Now we're doing semantics.
Yes. Because we've been doing semantics all fucking morning. Having arguments about fucking semantics.
I just want my people to do better.
I want my people to do better too, but I want
they have certain ceilings.
I want the pain in your history to be acknowledged, and it's not.
I'm not saying it's not being acknowledged, but I'm saying don't let the things you may deal with that aren't ideal define what you think you can do in life. That's really where I'm going with it, because I've seen.
I get what you're saying, and it's a little, dare I say, conservative to say.
Is it?
Because it's a little, regardless of what you've been through, you could do better type thing.
Compared to what our parents and grandparents went through, we have it fucking easy. Us generation now, anybody born, I'd say after 70.
Old heads are saying we got it hard.
Oh, which old heads? Hard in what context?
My old head tells me that, man, shit is fucked up today. It reminds me very much of 1968. And that was just 1 year, and it's years of 1968.
So we routinely are having black kids being chased, and people throwing rocks at them from coming home from school.
I mean, social media would like you to think
so. I'm not saying social media is not a thing.
It's too much. It's a magnifying glass.
I hop on Instagram right now. Somebody goes, "Shut up, nigger."
Oh, they do.
You could
just turn off Instagram.
It's over.
Yeah.
Versus your dad, my dad, our parents, literally being in a space where them just physically being there, they have the imminent threat of danger. My mom used to tell me, she went to Gage Park, they would, like, every day, they'd have to, like, make sure, like, they get together and they leave immediately. They don't be the black kids because they were like, the white kids just start throwing rocks and spitting on you. And it's like, there's so many of them, even if you fight back, eventually you can't win. So
I went to school in Bridgeport. Do you know anything about Bridgeport?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It still wasn't as bad as it was. Bridgeport is. You're right. Bridgeport. Even when we were little, we're still.
You can get beat from inches of your life in Bridgeport.
You could, and think about that before.
I mean,
That's all I'm saying.
All I'm saying is, again,
as fucked up as things are now, it is still the greatest time.
When you feel safer in the projects than you do at your elementary school, that's crazy. And that's just because of racism. I had a teacher tell my brother he was never going to be shit, so I'm going to just throw you in detention every day.
The teacher wasn't promptly fired? Because
no.
It sounds like a violation.
The teacher got the chance to teach me.
Wait, so y'all told the school they didn't do anything?
My auntie who was also a teacher there, had to address her in front of the principal and be like, if you ever say some shit like that to my nephew again, I will handle you. It won't be no school thing or nothing. It's going to be me and you.
Wow.
But she still got a chance to teach there.
But I guess, like, I'm surprised the school didn't do anything. I'm surprised your parents didn't sue or anything, because that clearly is a violation.
This is the 90s. Yeah, no, people didn't just get fired because they said some racist shit. No.
They get reprimanded. I would hope.
Reprimanded? My auntie reprimanded her.
Well, it's only your auntie who was street justice. I whoop your ass, bitch.
That's the reprimanding she got.
Way, I whoop your ass, bitch.
Exactly.
It was like, okay, it got real.
So I understand that I didn't have an imminent danger. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree from all standpoints that my childhood was pretty easy, from economical or whatever. But I would just say that I've gotten the opinion from plenty of old heads that it's pretty fucked up today.
I would say, would you rather be a kid now or be a kid back then?
Oh, me and my girl be having these talks. Like, we be like, she asked me, is there a time back in the day that you would like to live during? And I was like, and be a black man? No.
Oh,
go back to the
traveler's paradise.
I love to go back to the roaring 20s.
No, I've had this conversation with coworkers. They were like, yeah, man, they're talking about time travel. They're like, yeah, man, we should all go time travel. Alex, where would you like to go? I was like, me? As a black guy?
But if we can go all the way back to Africa, that's what I'd like to do.
Nah, I like indoor plumbing.
Well, if you never had it, though, how would you know the difference?
But now I know. I'm time traveling.
Are you going back in time with the consciousness?
With, like, who you are now, you going back in time.
Oh, yeah, I want to go. Can I bring an M16 with me? I'd like to go back to the time that they came upon our shores. And I'd like to pull out my rifle and start shooting at their ass to go back.
Well, you also have to deal with some of the kingdoms that were trading their citizens for spices and goods.
I'll shoot them too.
Like a few King Lear...
Kyle Rittenhouse style.
Ghost talks about, like, the Congo.
Mm-hmm.
And talks about one of the parts of the book. It talks about, I forget which part of the Congo it was, or the area that came.
But I mean, that's kind of...
Well, in fairness, they didn't quite understand. What would happen is they were like, the kings would start trading... The royalty would start trading, like, the direct society for, resources. And over time, it would just keep happening and keep happening. And they just wouldn't, they'd be so blinded by, like, what they were getting. They weren't noticing, like, wait.
You're asking for bodies now.
And then what would happen is, a lot of times, it would get to a point to where they would then just take the people who were in power. Because, like, well, no one's left.
You're coming too.
You can't stop us.
Right.
Because they told a story about one of the princes. He happened to be somewhere. He had on his royal garb. He got snatched up, and he was a slave for 10, 15 years. And they were just kind of like, well, what are you going to do? We don't know who that nigga is. It was crazy.
Put an APB out on this nigga.
But no, I wasn't trying to dismiss what you were saying earlier. Just because I grew up in those environments too, like that whole mindset, like, this is all you ever going to be. I'm like, no, this isn't. This is not what it is.
It's not all you're ever going to be, but let's not forget or act like this isn't a part of who we are.
Temporary circumstance.
Yeah, I mean that's the hope. That's where hope comes in, and that's where you taking responsibility comes in.
I'm not even on like the Larry Elder. Push up by your bootstraps. Stop listening to rap music. That's not where I'm going with this. That's more of like I just want people to not be like, oh, maybe because I'm fucked up right now, that's all I'm ever gonna be. I'm like,
no, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying,
but as you breathing, you got a shot.
A part of history of the black experience. A lot of it is the inequality and bullshit we've had to put up with.
And despite that, look at all the things people still did. That's super fucking inspiring.
It's because we're dope as fuck.
But that's my point. Like when you look at that part, there's a whole other thing that's happening.
Low income and low resources don't mean you ain't shit, or don't mean you're trash. It just means
that's what I'm saying. But that
doesn't mean that. Okay.
That's what I was trying to.
That's where we get back to the perception. I don't think when I say the words poor, I mean economically. I don't mean in mental. Like your mental is poor. I mean economically, and I'm talking about low income. Does not mean that you ain't shit and won't ever be shit, or you low income doesn't equal status to me.
But I think that's where like a lot
or
of
ability.
I remember growing up like in
or even mindset.
Terrortown, Inglewood, some other spots. Like a lot of times for the kids like who were in that spot where you didn't have a lot of bread, you didn't have like a lot of clothes, maybe your house, you didn't live in the best places. You just assume like, well, I ain't really got shit.
That's
and so I assume therefore because I don't have things economically or resources, I ain't shit. And I just didn't agree with that. Even as that I was like, no, what you talking about?
That's a great example of what I'm trying to say. Just because you are from Inglewood doesn't mean you're bound there.
Yeah, I agree.
Doesn't mean that's the total of who you are.
Yep.
But look how Inglewood is still perceived. It's never accelerated.
So you say perceive in terms of how like what you mean like the outside world, the people in there, like what do you mean exactly?
The outside world. Because, you grew up in Chicago,
yeah.
There are spots in Inglewood you can go to.
Yeah.
But people see Inglewood as a war zone.
Mm-hmm.
And that just poor people live there.
Right.
This is where Derrick Rose is from. They don't see it as anything more. It's perception is their reality. This is their reality. They think that this is what it is. And that's not changing.
But this is one thing that...
It's not... Well...
This is one thing that I do admire about, like, immigrant communities is that they understand those perceptions about them exist, and it may irritate them, but they don't let that, like... They're like, okay, you're going to think what you think about me regardless. I'm going to focus on what I want to do, and you can think what you want. I don't really give a shit. And eventually...
Yeah, but a lot of times those immigrants, depending on where they're from, because more proud than others... But they have a low opinion of their own people. And that's why they want to nuzzle up next to white people or what the American life is.
Some, you're right. Some do.
Yeah.
But again, you can't control what people think of you. You can't control people's perception of you. You really can't. You can try as hard as you can, but ultimately, you can't let that deter you. Because all the same people who were saying Obama ain't black enough were the same niggas who were, my president black, my Lambo blue. Like shit, yo. Like I remember the
I was bumping that shit. I was bumping that shit when it happened, just because it was a historical moment, and I took that historical moment and I enjoyed it. And the next day, I was like, okay, he's president. Now what? Because work has to be done. It's not just an accomplishment to become president. You have to not be a shitty president too. And he wasn't. He was a. To me, they try to create and stir up a lot of shit, but to me, he's the only president in a long time without controversy. And I would say in all American history, from a black standpoint, without controversy.
You don't remember the tan suit scandal of 2007?
Get the fuck. Or the golf scandal, or the birth certificate scandal, or all the other shit they try to bring up.
How they were...
or the name, or you must be a Muslim.
Critique the first lady, saying they spend too much money on their trips. And it's like, well, not really. They really don't.
Trump was never in office. He was fucking golfing all the time.
But that's like, but from my perspective, like those opinions, like you're not going to change them. Like wasting time, like debating people, arguing, it's just like, it's a waste of time. Those people are looking for excuse. They're looking for confirmation bias. I don't like you for whatever reason. So whatever I can find that confirms my bias, I'm going to go with that. It's a waste of conversation to me. So those people who, I'm talking to people like, oh, I grew up in like Inglewood, I grew up here. They're like, oh. Like if they've got a perception about that, I'm like, I don't give a shit. I just don't care.
I feel you.
Can't control it.
I feel you on the waste of time talking to certain people. You know I do. Okay.
Yeah.
With the time that we have left, a conversation was brought up a couple of weeks ago. We were on chat with our boys, and we talked about something, and I'm going to hijack the show.
Oh, boy. Is it going to end with human nature?
Nope. Nope. Although,
even though in fairness,
human nature's a motherfucker.
In fairness, I've been contemplating that over the years. I'm like, you know what? That's not necessarily a crazy thought anymore. I'm like, I don't agree with it sometimes, but sometimes it's pretty accurate.
It's about the your idea of what a star is in the NBA.
What? Oh, God. All right, now, some ground rules.
What's up?
When it comes to sports, you get real
nope.
tiki-torchy.
Tiki-torchy?
You get real, it's my way or the highway, you dumb nigger. I'm like, okay. Right.
Not dumb nigger.
The
hard ER.
I'm like, you get real intense with the sports talk.
I will say that I'm less tolerant if I know or I get certain cues that you don't watch the sport. So it irritates me.
Why am I valuing my opinion? Why am I valuing this opinion if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about?
It does irritate me, but I'm willing to your perception, however you feel about
Marcin Gortat?
Bruh, you try to come at me with that. He's a good player. It's like he's an average big man. And
he was
not even
middle of the pack.
He was below average, actually.
No, I think he was like ranked 15th or 16th in the league, like in terms of stats for the big man position.
Was he?
He was. And you were like, them stats ain't big shit. He's got like 9 points, 5 rebounds. That was an average.
9 points, 5 rebounds. If you get that from somebody, that is a lower level. That's not even. That's an average role player in the league.
Yeah, he was like for the position.
All right, it's not even what I'm talking about. Ben Wallace, you think, or we've talked about the Detroit Pistons. You think that Ben Wallace was a star in the league?
Yes.
Now, by definition, what do you feel like a star?
I think a star is someone who has an extraordinary skill set and has name recognition.
Okay.
To the fans. That doesn't mean they're the greatest, but to me, he was a star. Now, you make valid arguments in terms of like, well, he had really only one aspect that he really contributed to.
One aspect.
But I felt like that aspect of his was so beneficial to his teams in his primes. Okay, yeah, he's not going to get me a ton of points.
That makes you a great role player.
I think he was more than a role player, though. I think Ben Wallace's defense was a pretty big part of their success.
The narrative around the Detroit Pistons is that they're the only starless championship team.
Well, they mean stars in the context, at least from my perspective, of like you don't have like that clear-cut guy who's putting up these ridiculous numbers every night. Fair. And maybe they don't have the personalities that, people are tuning in like, oh, I got to see what Chauncey says about this. Or they don't play like a certain flair. I get all that. I'm not arguing that. But to say like they didn't have like a very, in my opinion, star players at their positions in terms of like what they're actually doing on the court, I don't necessarily agree. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Bill Wallace ain't nobody's star.
He was a star. I wouldn't say, now you were right. I wouldn't say he was an all-star despite the fact he
was an all-star.
Well, in terms of like the definition, like from a casual fan.
All-star. The thing about all-stars, and you and our boy brought this up. He was an all-star this many times.
Yeah, 14
all-stars are voted in. They're popularity contests. They're not necessarily all based on merit.
So who votes them in though? Who's voting them in?
The fans are voting them in.
Okay.
Then, well, it's mostly fan vote because they want the fans to have who they want in the game. And then there are peers and coaches.
So wouldn't you say if all those different groups feel like, hey, this person's really, really good at this position, that does equate, at the very least, they're a star? Maybe not an all-star to your point. All-star in the sense of like...
Oh, no, they're all-star. I would say that they're... For your point, I would say that they're all-star and not a star. I think a star is someone who... The whole team is built around that person. That Detroit Pistons team was built around a culture, not a person. The whole team is built around that person. That is a star. And there's only but so many of them in the league.
Who was a better defender at that position than Ben Wallace during his peak period?
Tyshawn Prince.
At his position?
At his position and other positions. He defended multiple positions. He was more versatile.
So you were saying that
I would say that
Tyshawn Prince over Ben Wallace
on that team. He's on that team.
Nah, bro.
He's a better defender.
I don't think so.
Not a better rebounder. And that's the thing that he gives.
That's a pretty important piece, though.
Defense and rebounding are kind of this. They go hand in hand,
right?
Because the possession isn't over until you get the rebound.
So then, I kind of feel like that.
And Tyshawn Prince is not a star.
I think. I don't know. I'm just not agreeing with you on this one. I'm not saying you're wrong, but saying like, oh, because they built a team around me.
Furthermore, Scottie Pippen, crying ass. I'm tired of this.
Scottie Pippen was an all-star.
Because Scottie Pippen was one of the 50 greatest player, right?
He's an all-star.
Michael Jordan was so great, he went to the Hall of Fame. It's two people. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen.
What do you mean?
Michael Jordan made Scottie Pippen what he is. Point blank. That's why Michael Jordan's a star. Charles Barkley made people around him better.
I would put them above a star.
To me, I feel like we underachieved in 94, the 94 Bulls without Michael Jordan because of Scottie Pippen. He is liable to break down mentally.
But I guess...
And has been his whole career. That's why Michael Jordan is needed. Not a luxury.
What team could lose a key piece of their, of themselves, offensively and defensively, and still really be as good as they were?
Golden State Warriors.
Who do they lose?
Kevin Durant.
I would argue
they're 10-1 this season. They're first in the West.
Okay, it's 11 games.
That's fine.
I'm just Steph is
they won 73 games without Kevin Durant.
So that's how I was going. I would say the Warriors really more so adjusted themselves to Kevin Durant fit, as opposed to they were just kind of a team of okay players, and he came in they were kind of clicking on all cylinders before he got there. They kind of
subtract them and they can keep going.
But it did take a bit of a while to get back that steam rolling again. I'm more so saying to me,
injuries happen.
Yes, to me, I would say the Warriors are more so they didn't necessarily need a Kevin Durant to be what they were.
Just answered your question, bro.
But no, I didn't. What I'm saying is that's not, to me, it's not a good example.
Why isn't it?
It wasn't they were built around he was there from the core piece of the team. It's they were
the San Antonio Spurs.
Who?
Kawhi Leonard.
They still weren't. They weren't the same team after you left.
They were still competitive.
They weren't the same team after they left, though.
And
he really was a baby.
The Toronto Raptors. They were still a good team after Kawhi left again.
But they went right back down to.
They weren't a championship.
They were a solid.
Matter of fact, that championship they won, they didn't really.
They got a little.
The 76ers with Ben Simmons. You lose him, they're still power.
Ben Simmons has some amazing gifts, but he's got
one flaw. It's
a pretty big flaw, though.
It's fine.
Shows up in key moments.
Y'all act like that dude ain't a star player all y'all want to. He does everything else great, but one thing that he's choosing not to do.
And that's a bad thing. I'm not saying he's not a star. I'm saying Ben Simmons is a once-in-a-generation talent, in my opinion, in my humble opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, that one flaw he has is pretty glaring, and it shows up in key moments where they really need it.
For sure.
To me, but I get your point. That's the Takeoffs are a good example.
And that hate y'all got against Dwight Howard, I guess mostly from our friend.
You know what it is about Dwight Howard? You know what it is?
It's the purple hair.
It's his personality.
There's nothing wrong with his personality.
Explain.
Oh, go ahead.
You're gonna be like, what the fuck? It's the fact that he's really, really goofy.
He's positive. He's not.
You know why? Because niggas are used to dysfunction. So positive black people, get out of here, positive black people.
Exactly. And that's exactly the problem. Niggas is mad because they all.
Why are you happy? Don't be happy. You supposed to.
Crab apples, bro. You're a bunch of crab apples, and you feel like because you lose, he should feel shitty, and that's not the type of person he is.
You 6'11". You got athleticism out of this world.
More babies than anybody.
And you smiling? What's wrong with you?
You love trannies.
What?
He does.
Wait. Is that like you just throwing shit out there? He really does like trains.
There was a no.
It's fine if you like trains. That's on.
No, there's nothing wrong. I'm just naming all his bona fides. No, there was
a little pink and a little stink.
There was there was a report, just like Eddie Murphy. There was a report out about him messing with a transgender. And there's nothing wrong with it.
I wonder if you get to the point where you get so much ass, you just you know what? Let me try something different.
Maybe that's Malik Yoba's problem.
He just don't want to admit that he likes dudes. Malik,
you think that's what it is?
I think Malik.
He'll get us canceled.
I think Malik Yoba grew up in a time period, because he's older than us. He's 10, 15 years older than us.
Yeah.
A time period where a black man being gay is just akin to death.
Yeah.
And I think culturally he just can't accept the fact, I just kind of I like dudes.
But I don't think so though. I think it's a little bit deeper than rap. I think he likes a certain type of man.
But he goes out of his way just to be like, I'm not gay. I'm like, bro, you gay. It's fine.
No. Okay. We got to talk about this
interview when they asked him blatantly about his attraction to men. No, I like beautiful women. That The person has a dick, sir. I like beautiful women.
No, because a trans woman is a woman.
A trans woman now is a woman. Back when he was doing it, that was a dude.
It was like 4 or 5 years ago.
A lot has changed in 4 or 5 years. A lot has changed.
Which is why you really can't blame somebody for not keeping up. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about facts. You like facts. You just screamed at me about facts.
I would say
about 20 minutes ago. No, you screamed at me about facts. Let's talk about facts.
I would say if we're talking about a conversation where it's solely based on, if someone goes, this is solely my opinion, then I'm cool with that. But when you try to present your opinion as a fact,
oh, you know I would never.
Not you. I'm saying that in the context of like that's why, because facts are objective.
Yeah.
Whether or not I'm right or wrong, the facts are what like actually happened.
I make it very clear so that people aren't confused. I say this is just my opinion, or this is just someone's opinion, or then I say this is fact. Facts are numbers. Facts have dates. Facts actually happen. Facts can be proven. Opinions are shit pissed in the wind. It's just piss in the wind.
If you ask Kanye, opinions are just manifesting the future.
Okay, I'm going to get to him. But let's talk about we all come from a woman's vagina. Trans women are women. Where do you stand? How do you feel about all of that?
I guess if I wanted to be technical about it, we all come from a female's vagina. Because one thing,
I would say we all come from a woman's vagina, and that the trans community, you can fight for the right of gender, but you are not a woman.
Gender and sex are
two different. I don't even know anymore.
Because this is back when, like,
I don't know anymore, Al. I can't keep up.
This is where we're going.
I don't have a mind for it.
And that's why I started like at that, like, because that was the argument, not the argument, like the stance people were taking back when we were talking about, like the thing a few years ago in terms of like gender and sexuality and all that were kind of like changing.
I'm gonna throw a quick caveat out there for the listeners. Like, when we are two black men that want to do the best we can, be as thoughtful as we can be, right? Now go ahead.
No.
All right.
I would say Tristan is definitely more, he intentionally tries to be more progressive than I am. I will just be honest with you. Not that he's not honest, but if I'm really thinking something, whether it's going to make you mad or not, I'm just going to be honest with you.
Yeah, I just have very little patience because I'm a very little person.
My emotional IQ is very low, so I blame it on that.
My emotional IQ is pretty high.
Actually, I scored pretty well in the last one. I know to look for the answers.
I'm a very empathetic human being.
I'm not.
But I am quick to emotion. I am. You called that out.
And I didn't mean that as a slight. I just meant like I can tell when from experience, like when we have these conversations, like, oh,
but wait. People, when I get excited though, it's usually because I feel the rise in the other person, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna meet you there. And I'm not really mad. Like, I'm not mad. I'm never mad. But I'm like, bro, like, no, what are you talking about? And then, like, it comes off because I have all the facial expressions and all of that. It just comes off as I'm being extra, and it's really just me proving my point.
That comes out of your head.
That's because when I speak, it come out. Like, when I get excited.
It throbs.
When do I ever really? I don't really get angry. Like, I do.
I feel like you got two modes: chill and angry.
That's true.
There's no in between.
That's true.
I'm fucking with you. But no, because the argument was like back when people were like, when we were talking about gender and sexuality, they're like, well, gender is different from sex. So your sex is male or female. Gender is like all these other things. I was like, okay, I'll go with that notion. But, so I was like, okay, if that's the case, that gender is a construct, then what Dave Chappelle is saying really is that females give birth.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a fact. You can't really debate that either way. So to me, I'm like, that's true. Even if you are a transgender woman, you cannot give birth.
I don't think that...
That's that simple.
I think that what they're trying to do with the a trans woman is a woman, point blank period, is to nullify any responsibility or conversation outside of the fact.
I hate that phrase, by the way. I hate that point blank period phrase because that's not how a real conversation goes. If I say that to you and we're having a disagreement, I'm essentially saying, shut the fuck up.
That's what they're essentially saying.
Conversation.
They don't want a conversation, bro. And unless it's pro what I'm talking about, they don't want a conversation.
Then you want an echo chamber.
That's exactly what they want.
What's it called? Virtual signal.
That's exactly the idea that I'm getting that you want. And you want to be, I want you to be normalized in this society. I don't want this to be a taboo forever. Like at some point, we all gotta evolve past this caveman state.
There's patience though. Like I think the argument that yes, in some form, transgender people have been around for centuries or millennia, whatever you want to.
Forever.
But the reality is, I think they have to understand. I'm coming at me. I know it. Is that it's going to take time. Just how people were really freaking out like 20, 30, 40 years ago about people being gay, and over time, some people still have things about it, but overall, it's not as big of a deal. The same thing's going to happen with this, like the transgender space. As time goes on, people get more used to what it means and have more perspective on it. You might still have people who throw some jokes out there, but overall, it's not going to be as like a taboo subject. It's not going to be all this visceral reaction from like that you're getting now. Just you're going to have patience.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, black people are still just want you to be like, hey, love us as we are. Don't be like, shut up, nigga. We're still trying to get through that piece.
Yeah, I mean, there's levels to this shit, right? Because for every person who just wants patience and understanding, there are people who don't want your patience and understanding. They just want you to accept whatever they're saying.
But
there's no conversation.
But I guess that's the thing. When we say accept, do we mean I don't legally try to stop any of your rights, or you're not asking me socially to like embrace whatever you're saying?
I mean, you know damn well that for a lot of black men, let's talk about our, black trans brothers and sisters. For a lot of black men, we struggle with masculine identity just from a historical standpoint. Why then would you not disclose if you're going to lay down with somebody? I understand you're in the heat of passions. That conversation might not come up. But I feel like if you get into that point, if you are getting to that point where you feeling him and he's feeling you and you're a trans woman, or vice versa, she's feeling you and you're a trans man, you need to have a conversation, and you should feel some responsibility to say, hey, I have done this. I am this person. Like, I am trans.
I don't disagree.
And I feel like that's not happening. I feel like I should just be taken as who I am, and that's it. What you see, and that's it. I shouldn't have to have a conversation. I shouldn't have to announce myself. And to some degree, I understand where you're coming from. But at the same time, you've made choices in your life.
But you can't make that choice for the other person.
Exactly. You've made choices for your life, and you can't make that choice for the other person. And a lot of times, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of these instances when I read them, you're making that choice for the other person. And that person freaks out. Now, I'm not condoning...
talking about violence against trans... Got it. Okay.
I'm not saying that person is right for committing violence. Nobody's right for committing violence at any point unless somebody owes you money. But...
Okay, Stewie.
You gonna give me my money? No, but you gotta...
Well, then I would...
Be responsible in the situation.
I would...
Be accountable. Some of that... I hate the victim blame, but some of that is on you.
But then I would say, to your point earlier, though it was a different context, perception in the moment, I've already used that phrase, is reality. In the perception of that moment, that person may feel you tricked them. Now, to your point you were making before, if it's like the case of a guy, trans woman, he may feel because there's a premium on masculinity in the black community that, oh, you've now challenge or threaten this very precious resource to me, whether it's right or wrong.
Or I may have been...
My perception is, I've been tricked, I've been had, I feel attacked.
Or this person may be a closeted member of your community and you just pushed him to a brink. Like I feel like, okay, I feel like in some of those cases I've read, some of the stories, you see the pictures, I'm like, that nigga knew. He may have known and
he knew.
I don't know.
Those hands like that and the forearms. The broad ass
First of all,
you knew, bro. You knew. You got upset because somebody found out about it. You knew. You knew. When you went to cup the ass, you're like, whoa, what? That's different, huh? You knew what's happening.
Maybe in them cases they knew, but I just feel like in some of these cases you don't know. And then I'm wrestling with this part of me, and y'all know, y'all in y'all community, you know how hard that is, and. He's wrestling with this part of him, and then you've pretty much exposed it, not necessarily to the world, but to him himself, this thing that he's battling with, and you forcing him to confront it. Like, nobody wants to be forced to confront this thing. They want to confront it on their own time, and you know that.
So as somebody where someone, they may feel they were attracted to like a trans woman, or
they may just be attracted to men, period, and that's why they're looking at this trans woman and saying
both worlds.
Yeah,
Oh, kind of like a Spanish chick. If you wanted to date black girls, but white girls, but you want to go white girls.
But maybe it's like subliminal, like in their mind, subconsciously. They got this thing going on, and they don't necessarily I don't know, 100% conscious about it.
Like I have seen, they have those videos. Like another video, you'll see interviews with like trans black women talking about their experience. And some of them, like, if you didn't know, some of them, like, are, like, very attractive. Like, you just, like, they look like really attractive women. So I get to you not, to your point, you may not know. Like, wow, like, shit, like, what? Damn. Really? Okay. Yeah.
Let people know. Let's just let people know. And it's not for everybody. Just for people you intend to lay down with. I mean, that's all that matters. Like, when it comes to sexuality, the only person that should care or know about your sexuality is the person that you're laying down with or intend to lay down with. Like, I don't really feel like your sexuality should be blasted, but I know that as a culture, you're trying to make people aware that of this community. So you're trying to pull awareness to it. So you come out and you announce. That's fine. But I feel like you just got to be accountable when you're in these situations and let people know, because people are fragile, man.
So let me play. I know we're almost got to get close to it. So let me play the other side of that. So if I was a trans person, could I use the same logic that someone uses where, like, you don't need to know how many people I've slept with? Like, it's the same thing. I don't need to tell you that about me, so I need to tell you about this other part of myself that you...
Because you finna sleep with me. Like, what? Like, I don't give a fuck what you did in the past. You finna sleep with me.
Let me ask... Okay.
So I need to know who you are, not what you've done in the past.
Does it matter if they have actually gone through the surgery to, like, change everything? At that point, does it matter still?
I don't know. Does it?
I don't think it does, unless you want to have kids. Because at that point, but at that point...
You still can't make that choice for me, bro.
I mean, at that point,
Because you're not, I mean, we just talked about that. You still not a woman or a female. Which one is it?
At that point, it would be, you're not a female.
You're not a female?
Because that's, like, based on, like, biology.
Oh, okay. I lose track. But, yeah, so you're not a female. So, I mean, you still need to have that, because you're still making that choice for me. Because if I'm somebody who's attracted to females, so damn. Now we got to go back to that word, because I kind of got off that word because you don't want to call women
disrespect.
Yeah, now it's like, oh, you got to throw that word back in the circle because.
No, I mean, you raise a valid point, because people are definitely kind of like, you really can't separate like sex and gender. There's a link, and there may be like, you know,
because if I just call you a female, that's so fucking degrading. Because it's like I could be talking about a dog. Yeah. I could be talking about anything, but no, I'm talking about human beings. I'd like to be able to call, but I gotta play this. I gotta make sure that everybody is covered and everybody's.
No, you don't.
I be trying, bro.
Like the whole pronoun. My pronouns are he and them. I'm not doing that.
First of all, how can you be a there? This is one of you. They. How are you a they?
You identify.
I'm so confused, bro. When I was taught in school, is they and there was meant for multiple peoples, and now it's just one person. And which I think is a little bit megalomania. So you're just omniscient. You're more than one person.
Rogan and he had a guest on, like, I think he's a kind of fitness person. They're referencing.
I hate Joe Rogan.
You really? Okay. They're referencing like this Microsoft sort of like I don't know if a town hall, like internal meeting, where they were kind of like they're trying to cover like all the bases. My name is so and so. I'm wearing a blue shirt. I'm he and him, because I was like, why do they keep saying like their shirt, and they're describing like their bodies? Because they're like, because people may be blind. I'm like, well, the fuck does it matter? They even know what blue is.
Some blind people have never seen blue.
So then, like, how would you even know what that means?
Well, it's a definition of a word. It's a word. It's in the dictionary.
But blue in terms of a color, you don't really, blue's a color, but if you've never seen a color, how do you know what it is?
I don't know.
You just picture, how do you describe it to somebody who? That's interesting.
Well, I mean, anyway, maybe for the blind person, if the police walked up to him, like, can you describe that man? Well, he was wearing a blue shirt because he announced in our orientation that he was wearing a blue shirt. I know exactly who that is. That's Kevin ass. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
It was. I'll show you the video. It was just like interesting, kind of like them covering all of these bases. I'm like, this is making this a very long meeting,
bro. Like, I don't know if you've been looking for a job lately. I've been.
I always kind of keep my ear to the ground.
They ask you your pronouns, and I'm just like, okay, this is this new brave world.
Quit them. Just say yes. Like, what does that mean?
It's like a multiple choice.
Tell me,
I can't say yes.
What are your pronouns? Yes.
I can't. It's multiple choice. I always put other.
But with our last, before we wrap it up, why do you hate Joe Rogan?
He's not funny, and now he just exists in this privileged white space where he can say things that are really stupid.
I enjoy his podcast.
I took horse dewormer instead of getting the vaccine. I just I'm not necessarily
his comedy.
He's not funny at all.
I tried to watch,
and I don't understand why he's ascended to where he's ascended, other than the fact of privilege.
You want to know why?
In fear factor.
You want to know why?
Why?
Because we took too goddamn long out of podcasts. No, joking. He has a long form podcast with interesting guests that have you get. They sometimes go a few hours, and it's just tons of interesting conversations.
And that's why people like Nori got a podcast. Shout out to
Drink Champs.
Shout out to Drink Champs. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I'm gonna wrap it up with this. R.I.P. Young Dolph. Too many black people are taken too early due to gun violence, and it's sad. Let's move on past that. At some point, our society, as black folks, we gotta stop hating on each other. We gotta evolve. Y'all have a good one, yo.